As you rightly point out, when did council housing become for people that are poor? You don't have to be poor. You're absolutely right, of course, Miss Lynch, but do you not agree that he might be blocking that property for somebody who is not in receipt of a six-figure salary? That's a fair point, isn't it?
No, it's not really. You're saying Eddie Dempsey's blocking a house for one family. Wait, do you think that's gonna like make any type of dent in the housing crisis numbers we have in this country? Like, buongiorno freaks and geeks, welcome back to the channel. It is so lovely to have you here. But I have one question.
What is the point in the Conservative Party?
Things to make you go, Am I right? So I'm not going to be focusing on the Tories this week. Other important stuff has been happening, especially in London. Well, not actually in London, but, you know, surrounding areas with the train strikes. Also, Keir Starmer did a thing, which is essentially just being Keir Starmer.
In the not too distant past.
I'm Keir Starmer and I'm a proud trade unionist.
But wait! There's more!
Supporting the staff at McDonald's who are on strike. And they're not asking the earth, they're asking for the basics. 15 quid an hour, the right to know their hours in advance and to have trade union recognition. That ought to be the norm in 21st century Britain. And it will be the norm if you have a Labour government.
6.5 hours later.
Oh my God!
So I'm going to get into some of my highlights from the week. But before we do that, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps me out. Also, don't forget I have a second channel where I tend to focus on less political content. Link in the description below. Now, let's have a little laugh at a video featuring Keir Starmer getting that lovely Scouse welcome up in Liverpool.
Can I just say that I don't know how you've got the guts to come to this city.
Are you not embarrassed? This is really embarrassing.
You have to have the testicles the size of bowling balls to actually go and sit in, what is this, a cafe or a restaurant in Liverpool after writing for The Sun, after previously saying you would never write for The Sun. I mean, wow, this guy's got some cojones. I love it.
After you, I've been being interviewed and doing columns for the Sun newspaper after the way we as a city were abused.
Who I do really feel sorry for is this woman sitting next to him who thought, oh, let me just get a nice, boring political job. And now I'm sitting next to the most hated person in the city. Like, you got to feel for the little people in moments like this.
And after the way we as a city, the Hillsborough victims were abused by that paper, and you've come here. Secondly, you lied to us about uniting the party.
That's very true. Like, this guy has been expelling people left, right and centre. Like, he doesn't give a damn like what is happening. Like, I don't know how you expect to win an election if you just get rid of half of your party, but maybe Sir Keir has a magical plan that he's playing 4D chess and we're still playing checkers. Yeah, fascinating.
I'm still a Labour Party member, and you've expelled and witch hunted in the most vicious way I've ever seen in my lifetime. And I've been a member of the Labour Party for a long, long time. You have absolutely said you had 10 pledges, you were going to carry on the Corbyn legacy.
God have mercy upon us.
Maybe it wasn't the Keir Starmer we are seeing now. Maybe it's like a case of the body snatchers, because and I've seen him say some stuff pre time he got elected as leader, because he was saying that he would scrap tuition fees.
Don't bullshit.
And he actually said what he would reverse in terms of what the Tories have done to this country. In fact, it sounds like he's just going to keep the status quo, which means a lot of people still using food banks, people not being able to pay their energy bills, the lowest paid and the most vulnerable in this country still will be missing that £20 a week that they surely need. So I'm not actually sure what he will reverse and what he will do if he was to ever become Prime Minister?
The first thing I'd do is fix the economy. We've got to make sure that we grow the economy so that people's wages go up, living standards go up. So that's absolutely the first thing that we've got to do. The second thing, I think, is broken public services. David, I'm sure you've had the experience of millions of other people. Our public services have just got worse and worse over the last 12 years. We've got to fix those. That goes with the economy, because you don't get good public services if you don't fix your economy.
Yep, got it. Absolutely clear as mud. I mean, this psychopath was better off saying, if I become Prime Minister, I'll make sure I wake up every single morning.
And ever since, you've done nothing but distance yourself from the ideas which tens of thousands of people joined the Labour Party to support.
Yeah, but that's where she's wrong. He's not trying to get the people who joined the Labour Party. He's trying to attract Tories. And the only way you attract Tories is by being a Tory, if that makes sense. I mean, the voting figures speak for themselves. Like, if you're a political party and you want to attract Tories, you advocate for Tory policies, and it's less likely that you will turn away actual left-leaning people. But if you do it the other way, if you advocate for left-leaning policies, you will definitely turn off Tories. So that is the juggle happening in Keir Starmer's head right now. But yes, it's all a bit of a farce and a mess. And obviously Keir Starmer is trying to be the heir to Tony Blair, who was the heir to Margaret Thatcher. So you see the direct timeline and the succession, if you will. So all of this shouldn't really come as any surprise. I guess the only surprising thing was that Keir Starmer was happy and smiling while being in Jeremy Corbyn's cabinet. Like, the guy couldn't stop smiling. And for him to, like, not just stick a little knife in his back, he's put a whole flipping axe in Jeremy Corbyn's back. It's like, it's actually a marvel to see and observe in real time.
And all you've done is feed into the Tory ideology of not supporting strikes, of carrying on with the privatisation of our health service. You're doing everything to feed into a Tory victory. Because we may as well have a Tory if we have a person like you who lies to the party. It's dishonesty.
Thank you very much.
And our health service is going right down the pan. And you have a big responsibility, the working class people of this country.
Can you move back, please?
Excuse me. You're just, don't be getting physical with me.
I'm not touching you. Can you?
He definitely was touching her. Like, they were like breast to breast right there. That is wild. And this woman, I don't know. Is she like Secret Service? Is she waiting for this Scouser to bust a move so she can like break her? Like, she hasn't took her eyes off of her. It's almost as if she has the same head popping powers from The Boys TV show on Amazon.
Can you move back then, please?
You're touching my breast.
Can you move back, please?
Now move back.
No, can you move back, please?
I want to go to the toilet.
Toilet's over that way.
Well, that was a delicious way to start a video. Now, I don't know who the guy was. Obviously, he was security and he had cased the joint before coming in. And maybe the toilets were in the direction that he was trying to send our lovely Scouse woman there. But if he properly cased the joint, he would have noticed there was actually toilets behind him. So he was very technically wrong. But yeah, what to say about Keir? Not a lot. Like, I don't think he handles pressure at all, to be honest. Like, this guy, he becomes like a candle being a candle in the face of a blowtorch when it comes to like just the slightest criticism or reproach from any member of the public or anyone from the media. Like, he just doesn't understand. Like, and this guy used to be a lawyer. Jesus, I wonder what his win to loss ratio was when he was actually practicing. That would be fascinating to actually observe. But yeah, so that is to Keir. Moral of the story: don't go to Liverpool unless you have a squeaky clean record, because they're gonna pull you up on it. They're gonna address it there and then, which they should do, to be honest. If you want to be Prime Minister of this country, he's got a lot to answer for. Good times, eh? Speaking of good times, I forgot to mention in my last video that there's this lovely bit of footage showing Theresa May not standing at first, but absolutely not clapping at Boris Johnson's last PMQs. Now, I'm no fan of Theresa May, but I just love a bit of spicy Tory on Tory hate. It's my favourite category of hate crime. Anyway, let's watch Mick Lynch give a sound assessment of Liz Truss.
Well, I think she's a right-wing fundamentalist, actually, and I think we're going to have one of the most extreme leaders if she succeeds.
That is a disgrace.
Mick here, love Mick, talking about Liz Truss, who, by all betting odds and basically opinion polls, she will be the next Prime Minister of the country. And I just love that he just opened up with, she is a right-wing fundamental. Like, I hate the fact that in this country, or any capitalist country on the face of this planet, just advocating for people's wages to be in line with inflation is considered hard left and thuggery, and you're a what's it called, a union baron, like a gangster. But you actually going out in the media and expressing, oh, I think we're going to take away strike action. Oh yeah, that's just being a normal conservative. No, you are borderline fascist right there. And let's not even get into the fact that this is the same individual that has gone around the world securing post-Brexit deals, which favours those other countries, which actually puts the boot into your own workers and citizens here.
A world away from rejoicing Kiwi farmers, their welly-wearing counterparts feel as though they are the sacrificial lambs of the free trade deal.
We're not competing on a level playing field.
The UK's less intensive approach to farming means their offerings could quickly be outpriced and outstocked by New Zealand's once tariffs are removed.
For a lot of people, it is all about price. So when you are at the shelf and you've got one leg at this price, one leg at another price, people have got to make those decisions.
The freshly inked FTA will see the quota of tariff-free lamb exported to the UK increase sharply over the next 15 years.
So I would definitely agree with that description of Liz Truss. And to think, her parents, if they're still alive, are so left-wing. It's like, what happened when Liz Truss was a child? Did they refuse to get her a pony or something? And she's like, all right, well, I'm going to be Tory then, just to show you, Papa and Mama. Like, what? Oh, gosh.
That we've ever had in the Prime Minister's office. This is a direct attack on one of the main pillars of our democracy. One of the founding bases of any democracy is the right for a trade union to freely organise and take appropriate industrial action. She's seeking to make effective industrial action illegal.
Remember, kids, under capitalism, you have all of these freedoms. But as far as I can see, you have the freedom to go hungry and use a food bank. You have the freedom to lose your house and be homeless and have to use like homeless hostels and shelters. You have the freedom to not request a pay rise in line with inflation. And you have the freedom not to strike. This is what probably the next Prime Minister of this country is advocating for. The one tool that workers have to battle just oppressive capitalist workplaces and work environments is the ability to strike. And did Margaret Thatcher, I don't even know, did Margaret Thatcher even dare to like say, we're just going to get rid of your right to join a union? I know she went around just busting heads of people that chose to strike, but did she even go that? I don't know. But this is what Liz Truss is advocating for, just so she can secure the votes of 160,000 Tory membership lunatics. This is wowzers. Wow.
So people will have to use other means to take action and respond to the employers. Who's being held to ransom at the moment is the British worker right across the economy. We saw the problems with the NHS yesterday, up to 60,000 vacancies in important jobs, because people are stressed out and underpaid and are not getting a square deal. What she wants is the trade unions to surrender so that we have a low-paid, cowed workforce in this country, which makes profit rampant and supports the people that support her, the 160,000 Tories that are going to vote for her in some kind of Surrey golf club scenario, will be very pleased with this rhetoric. But the rest of the country, if you believe in democracy and believe in a liberal economy, cannot support what she's standing for because it's oppression of working people.
Well, I couldn't have put it better myself, even if I tried. I think what we are seeing is the perfect Brexit scenario for those that advocate for Brexit. Even though Liz Truss didn't actually advocate for Brexit, she advocated to remain, but now she's like the most ardent Brexiteer. But the likes of Jacob Rees-Mogg, the haunted lighthouse wish to life, he basically said we want to turn the UK into low tax, low regulation haven, which essentially is you come here, you bring your money here if you're a millionaire or billionaire, you won't get taxed on it. And guess what? Low regulation means you can basically do whatever you want with your workers. That means no workers' rights. Oh, you don't want to work these hours? You're sacked. We'll get someone else in.
What the fuck?
So Mick also made an appearance on Channel 4, speaking some real truth to power. Have a listen to this.
Following Liz Truss, Rishi Sunak's following Liz Truss, and they're all going to the ultra-right end of the spectrum in British politics.
Well, they all want to finally deliver on
Keir
this
Starmer
wall.
seems to be following them.
I mean,
I love the way Mick just describes the political class in such simple terms, and he also has this uncanny knack for articulating what are the proper angst and what is the root cause of what is happening to the working class in this country.
Pay and the erosion of conditions and mass redundancies are an issue in this country. The stripping out of conditions such as with P&O and the replacement of properly contracted labour with cheap labour is an issue that affects all workers. And I think there is a turn in this country. I think the Tories are out of touch, and I think Keir Starmer's out of touch, because people want a square deal at work and they're not getting it. They're being ripped off and they're getting poorer year by year.
Damn, I could listen to his sweet tones all day on this subject matter, but we don't have time for that. We have to watch Mick do a bit of arse kicking over at LBC Radio.
Word on a bit of a row over one of your colleagues, Eddie Dempsey, who I think is your deputy, if I've got that right.
Just a quick aside, Eddie Dempsey, cut from the exact same cloth as Mick Lynch. They go around carrying a massive sledgehammer, know exactly what their talking points are, and they stick to it, and it just makes so much sense. I would recommend you going on YouTube, finding any videos featuring Mick Lynch and Eddie Dempsey. It's just a pleasure to watch and listen to people that are really advocating for workers in this country. And I know what you're saying, oh, they're only advocating for RMT, but the point is, if the RMT wins, which they should do, it will spread and set off a domino effect, which will just reach workers across this whole country. So yeah, I definitely support both of them.
Who, it is reported, lives in taxpayer subsidised social housing in Islington Council. And as you rightly point out, you say, when did council housing become
taxpayer giving to his housing?
Yes, as you rightly point out, when did council housing become? When did household housing become for people that are poor? You don't have to be poor. You're absolutely right, of course, Mr. Lynch. But do you not agree that he might be blocking that property for somebody who is not in receipt of a six-figure salary? That's a fair point, isn't it?
No, it's not really. You're saying Eddie Dempsey's blocking a house for one family. Wait, do you think that's gonna make any type of dent in the housing crisis numbers we have in this country? Like, how's that even, instead of having a conversation about, okay, can we go into more detail about why your union is striking today and and what what would avoid more strikes in the future,
Nicholas
has decided to take a personal shot at the deputy. Like, instead of going for the ball, he's going for the player, which is. And what do you hope to get out of this? Oh yeah, you're right. He's blocking one family from a council house. Now, can we get onto the issue of why we're striking? Because that's just a non-argument. Like, you could say that about anything. Also, just because you live in a council house, all that just means is that your landlord is a local authority. Because if you make enough money, you would have to pay full rent in that council house. It's just not as much as private landlords.
Shit, Negro, that's all you had to say.
Does he think if Eddie leaves, they'll be able to fit like 25 different families in this one council house? It's not going to address the issue of the fact that we're not building council houses in this country. There's a housing crisis, and rent by private landlords is just too high. Like,
Well, he's not in receipt of a six-figure salary for starters, so I know what his salary is because he works for me and he doesn't receive a six-figure salary.
I apologise. I would imagine it's a healthy. I would imagine it's a healthy salary, though.
Six-figure salary either.
Okay, I would imagine
he gets a healthy salary. He gets well paid for his job.
So
he got his council.
I understand he gets £78,200.
£78,200.
Mr. Lynch, please. He gets £78,282.
Something like that, yes.
Yeah, plus pension contributions and others.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, sweetheart.
What's your point,
Nicholas?
I don't understand what your point is there, because like they're not like, I don't understand. Like, Mick Lynch is obviously left wing, and so is Eddie Dempsey, but they've never advocated for them not to have a good wage for the work they do. That's exactly what they're advocating for. It's people on the other side of the argument that say, oh yeah, we're going to pay you as little as possible for as much work we can squeeze out of you. Whereas what Mick and Eddie are advocating for is total opposite. We want a good wage for doing a good job. So, yeah, and we advocate for pensions because we don't think people should work until they're 90. Like, I'm confused. I don't know what Nick is trying to do here. Like, come on, Nick. Don't be like this. Like, but I could hardly be surprised by this line of questioning from Nicholas Ferrari. And this is what he says in response to the questioning of Britain's history to a British person of colour.
Well, you could have been a bit snappier, but I won't worry about subbing it. I'm delighted to. Why do you stay in this country? If you take such offence when you see Nelson's column, if you take such offence when you hear Winston Churchill's name, who I would argue, if in the unlikely event that anybody want to have a poll, I would say probably 80 to 90% of people would say that Winston Churchill did a good thing. I'm delighted that I see you at these Thursdays. I'm delighted you upstairs. But if it offends you so much, how do you manage to stay here?
Maybe because she was born there, you giant, oversized, pale turnip.
So he gets a basic salary of 70.
Yeah,
should he be in council accommodation if he's earning that? Is he not possibly blocking it for a family, someone who's not in receipt of that amount of money?
Yeah, one family. It's all Eddie's fault that a family in this country can't get a council house. It's all Eddie's fault. Like, Eddie should have been alive, like in his 40s. Back when Margaret Thatcher was Prime Minister of this country, advocating for more council flats to be built. Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't think he is blocking it at all. What he got is his council flat that he got as a person on the register when he was a railway worker. And he and his partner live there with his children, and they have the tenancy like all council tenants do.
Yes, indeed.
And when he's ready to move, I assume he'll move. It's not a question of when you earn a few more bob, you get evicted from your council
I'm
flat.
not saying it is. I'm not saying it is.
It doesn't work like that, Nick. People live where they live. It's not like he did fraud to get into that council flat. You're just upset now that this individual advocating for better worker pay has a very decent wage now and continues to live in a council flat with his family because it's his right.
Well, that's what you seem to be.
No,
that's what you seem to be
what I'm
implying.
asking is someone
He's been in the job he's got since October last year,
right,
when he got elected to office. And before that, he was a railway worker, and he received his council flat by waiting on the list like other council tenants.
But lastly, is the point
What do you want him to do? Be evicted because he's got a new job?
Mr. Lynch, if you'll let me say,
well, that seems to be what you're implying.
Well, if you'd pause and allow me to...
You seem to be implying that he shouldn't live there. It's,
Mr. Lynch,
it's his tenancy, and he pays the rent. I'm not aware that he's in receipt of any subsidy from anyone.
Mr. Lynch, if you let me make my point...
Are you aware that he's on some subsidy?
You're not letting me make my point respectfully. I'm always saying that someone who has a salary of that level, 70,000+, some would say, is in some way blocking that accommodation for families more in need. That was the point I was making.
Well, what we need is more council houses so that people from all sorts of incomes can live in mixed environments. When I was living in a council flat in the 60s and 70s with my parents, there were people from all sorts of backgrounds living in council flats. The problem is that the government stopped building council flats and houses, so that we can't have that mixed environment in our inner cities of people living comfortably side by side from all sorts of backgrounds. And what we need is a mixed environment of people from all income levels living cooperatively in council accommodation. And I don't believe he should be evicted because he's got a new job.
I totally agree with you. I've not for one moment suggested your colleague should be evicted. I'm just making the point, if you're making £78,282 a year in salary, should you be enjoying that when other families might need it more? Grateful for your time, Mick.
Emotional, damn it! Can I also just highlight how funny it is to me that Nicholas Ferrari is getting his ass handed to him by a still image of Mick Lynch just smirking like this. It's just too funny. Oh my god. So what have we learned? Again, Mick Lynch is running circles around these media outlets and these news outlets. Like he is a thorn in their side, and as long as they keep having strikes with the RMT union, he's going to continue to feature on these broadcasts, and the people are just going to look as silly as possible. It's like it's so refreshing to see someone make a mockery of the broadcast media, who since forever have always been on the side of capital and owners, because obviously most media outlets are owned by billionaires and millionaires. So of course they're going to be on the side. That's going to be the narrative. It's so lovely to see someone just say, nah, I'm going to come on the show and I'm going to stick my boot so far up your ass. It's instead of like your tongue coming out of your mouth, it's going to be the tip of my shoe. It is lovely to see. I love it. I need more bloodshed. I need it all. Like, I need it all. Just put it all in my veins. So yeah, the strikes, and we also Keir. What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do with Keir Starmer? Because the full report actually suggested that there was so many other racist actions happening within the Labour Party, i.e. Islamophobia, anti-black racism, and obviously elements of anti-Semitism, but not to the scale that was being suggested in the media. And I think Sir Keir Starmer is choosing just to ignore the whole report and just go on about his life. And let's hope that his life involves going to Liverpool every single week so someone else could stick it to him. That would be lovely. I think at this point, with Keir Starmer just breaking promises left, right and centre and sacking ministers for standing on the picket line with Labour, when you're the leader of the Labour Party, a party that was actually has its birth from the RMT union, the same RMT union who Mick Lynch is currently the leader of. As funny as it is to watch Tory ministers get booed on their way into a Tory fundraiser, I cannot imagine for 1 second Boris Johnson sacking anyone within his cabinet because they decided to rub shoulders with millionaires and billionaires who are about to fund their political party, the same millionaires and billionaires that are bleeding this country dry. Ah, gosh. What a shame, what a shame. Oh, don't mind this. Just two legends trying to ensure workers don't have to pick between food or heating their homes this winter. Ah, what a marvellous pair. Anyway, that is the video. Tell me down below thoughts and feelings. Please. I really want to read them. And yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe. And yeah, I guess I will see you very, very soon. Okay, bye.